Exposed. How a cleaning lady's incredible translation changed the life of a mocking CEO forever. In the bustling heart of Chicago, a cleaning lady named Clara fought her daily battles. She woke up each morning before dawn, her heart racing with determination as she slipped on her worn sneakers and grabbed her father's old baseball cap. He was a proud veteran, a man burdened with memories he could barely share. His PTSD wrapped him in shadows. But Clara recognized his sacrifices, held them close, and poured that love and respect into her rigorous cleaning work. Today, the sun shimmered against the skyscrapers, and Clara headed downtown with her mop and bucket. Her phone buzzed occasionally with reminders of bills due, but she focused on her purpose. The gleaming floors of office buildings were her canvas, and she treated them like gold. The shine in her smile often broke through the exhaustion she felt in her bones. Meanwhile, in a sleek high-rise nearby, Eric, a tech CEO, leaned back in his leather chair. He reveled in the success he had carved out for himself, yet didn't he see the fires of desperation raging below him? An urgent phone call shattered his calm, and he growled into the receiver, the arrogance dripping from his every word. A translation error in an international deal threatened to jeopardize everything he had built. "This is unacceptable," he barked, oblivious to the world outside of his privilege. Clara, scrubbing a nearby floor, heard his frantic conversation, piqued by the urgency. With every word he spoke, panic seeped into his tone. Something within her ignited, a spark of courage. She approached him, her heart pounding. "Excuse me, but I can help with that translation," she said boldly, lifting her chin high. Eric looked her up and down, dismissing her at first glance. "What can you, a cleaning lady, possibly know about international deals?" His tone was biting, filled with disdain for someone he deemed beneath him. But as Clara held his gaze, he felt a flicker of embarrassment. The facade began to crack as he considered what failure might mean for his team and family. "Fine," he huffed, relenting. "Show me what you've got." As they worked together, Clara's diligence astounded him. She poured her heart into the task, her insights revealing not just linguistic skills, but the deep spirit of resilience she embodied. Their conversations shifted from business to deeper issues: the American struggle for respect and recognition. Here was Clara, daughter of a war hero, replete with stories of sacrifice that opened the door to Eric's blind biases. He never thought about the lives affected by his attitude until now. "Why can't you see my worth? Just because I clean doesn't mean I'm worth less?" Clara challenged, her voice firm but filled with empathy. "My father fought for a country that praises hard work, not just positions." The words wedged themselves into Eric's mind, and for once, his carefully constructed facade wavered. His frustration bubbled under the surface, revealing insecurities he hid behind wealth. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Just as Clara felt a breakthrough, the phone rang, an unexpected revelation sending shockwaves. Eric's heart raced. Their progress was brought to a standstill, testing his newfound sensitivity to what her words meant. Clara's future, tightly knit with his own, now teetered on the edge of an uncertain abyss. Would this moment bring transformation for both, or seal their fates apart? The room pulsed with questions, and as the scene faded, the promise of change lingered like a fading sun. The ringing phone sliced through the tension in the room like a knife. Eric's hand trembled as he reached for it, and Clara felt a mix of anxiety and curiosity bubbling in her chest. She wondered if the call would bring a solution or shove them deeper into crisis. With a sharp intake of breath, Eric answered. The voice on the other end was frantic, spitting out issues with the translation. Clara caught fragments of phrases: damaging consequences, losing the contract, potential layoffs. Each word hung heavy in the air. She watched Eric's expression shift from irritation to something darker. His jaw clenched, and for the first time, she saw the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. As he ended the call, the silence thickened. Eric ran a hand through his hair, trying to mask his frustration. "They want solutions now," he said, voice strained. "I don't know if we can fix this in time." The urgency washed over both of them, a storm gathering strength. Clara stepped forward, her heart racing. This was her moment, the bridge she had been looking for. "What if we brainstorm? Maybe there's still a way." She felt a flare of determination coursing through her veins, a familiar sensation, invigorating and empowering. He looked up, that flicker of embarrassment returning in his eyes. "A brainstorming session? You think we can fix this over lunch?" The disbelief hung in the room like a smoke cloud. But Clara saw through the skepticism. Deep down, he needed more than numbers and contracts. He needed humanity. After a moment's silence, she spoke again, softly yet firmly. "Sometimes it takes looking at things from a different angle. You think in terms of money and profit. I think in terms of people and relationships. Let us combine both those perspectives." His brow furrowed as he processed her words. "How would that help us?" he asked, half challenging, half curious. Clara smiled softly, pushing the doubt to the back of her mind. "Well, if we connect with them emotionally, show them how important this deal is, not just for us, but for our clients and their families, maybe they'd be more understanding if we need a little more time. We could also highlight how important collaboration is in this global landscape." For the first time, Eric really looked at Clara. She stood there, fueled by passion and determination, proudly wearing her father's cap. Something about her conviction sparked an idea in his mind, a glimmer of hope. "You're right," he admitted slowly. "I've always thought if you're at the top, you control the narrative. But maybe," he hesitated, the past slipping through his fingers. Finally, he nodded, drawing a deep breath. "Let us do it. Can you write down your ideas while I make some calls?" As Clara scribbled their thoughts, she felt the excitement build inside her. They weren't just hoping for a miracle. They were crafting one together. This unexpected partnership felt powerful. But then, just as they began to find their rhythm, a shadow loomed. The door swung open, and a tall figure stepped inside, a familiar face with sharp eyes. "Eric, we need to talk. This is bigger than you think." Clara's heart sank, sensing that the conversation was about to shift in a way neither of them anticipated. Would this newcomer crush their fragile hopes, or become an unexpected ally? The air thickened with uncertainty, and Clara took a step back, her pulse quickening. The moment of truth was upon them, and she couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. What lay ahead would either knit their destinies together or rip them apart forever. The door clicked shut behind the newcomer, and Clara's heart raced. She studied the tall, sharp-eyed figure Abigail, the company's self-appointed crisis manager. There was an intensity about her that always radiated urgency, like she carried a storm within. Clara felt a chill creep up her spine as Abigail's penetrating gaze flickered between her and Eric. "Eric," Abigail said, her voice as steady as the ground beneath a volcano ready to erupt. "We don't have time for lunch meetings or brainstorming sessions. This is a PR disaster waiting to unfold." Each word was dipped in a tension that left little room for argument. Eric shot Clara a look that mixed desperation with defiance. He wanted to defend their plan, to argue that they had a chance, but the weight of responsibility snuffed out his voice. "Abigail, I understand your urgency," he finally managed, "but maybe we need a human approach. It's not just about the numbers. It's about the people involved." Clara could see the flicker of fight in his eyes, but Abigail leveled him with her cold stare. "A human approach won't fix a botched translation. I need you to understand we're on the edge here. If we lose this contract, it's not just a financial hit. It's the lives of those who work here." Abigail leaned forward slightly, her tone lowering to something softer yet intense. "Do you want to be the one responsible for people losing their jobs?" The room grew heavy. Clara could feel every breath around her. She wanted to scream that their plan still made sense, that they could bring heart into the business talk. But Abigail's electric presence dulled her voice. "Right now, we need to counteract this. Abigail continued, urgency pulsing through her words. We need a solid, immediate response. I propose we set up a conference call with our overseas partners and present a united front, assure them that we are addressing the issue. Clara sensed the energy shift as Eric's hesitation wavered. That sounds responsible, he conceded, but Clara couldn't shake the feeling that responsibility wasn't enough. It would require more than just pragmatism. It needed connection. What if we included Clara in the call? Eric suggested, his eyes searching Clara's for support. She understands the emotional weight of this better than any of us. Abigail's expression darkened, clearly unamused. With all due respect, she's a cleaning lady, Eric. We need professionals on our side. This isn't a good time for perspectives. The words hung in the air like a guillotine, each syllable slicing Clara deeper than the last. She fought to steady her breathing, her mind racing. Why was it so hard for them to see? Her own father had hung up his cap long ago, but in moments like this, she could feel his presence beside her. Wait, Clara interjected, her voice shaking yet resolute. What I lack in titles I make up for in insight. If you let me present the human element to our partners, the warmth, the relationships, the lives impacted, maybe we can bring it back to the why, not just the what. For a moment silence stretched. Abigail's sharp eyes narrowed. Clara half expected to hear a retort, but instead, Eric looked at Abigail, then back at Clara. All right, give her a chance, he said, firmness creeping back into his voice. We don't have time to waste, and it might just help us bridge that gap. Abigail's expression flickered, but she didn't argue. Fine, she replied, but Clara could sense the skepticism lurking beneath her words. As they moved to gather their thoughts for the call, Clara's heart hammered in her chest. This was her moment, a chance to prove not only her worth but the worth of everyone who often went unseen. But deep down, the anxiety churned. She couldn't ignore the nagging doubt that this was just the beginning of a much tougher battle. As they prepared for the call, Clara caught Eric's eye. Are you ready? He asked, a hint of uncertainty hanging in the words. A new beginning, Clara replied softly, though the upcoming call loomed like a storm cloud overhead. But as they sat down with the thought of the upcoming conference, something felt off. Clara couldn't shake the feeling that Abigail harbored more secrets than she revealed. What would come to light when they opened that door? Clara took a deep breath as they settled into their seats around the conference table. The pale blue glow of the screen flickered to life in front of her, illuminating the expectant faces of Eric and Abigail. She swallowed hard, trying to push down the lump that threatened to form in her throat. Her palms were damp against the surface of the polished wood, and she could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins like a warning bell. Let us do this, Eric murmured, stealing a glance at her. Clara could see the hope mingling with fear in his eyes. The pressure was immense, and even though she'd been given a voice, it felt like the weight of several lives rested upon her shoulders. All right, everyone. We're ready to connect, Abigail announced. Her tone clipped, as if any warm sentiment had been stripped away. She was the embodiment of urgency and determination, but Clara sensed that beneath her professional veneer, fear was lurking. When the screen flickered, and the faces of their overseas partners filled the room, Clara's heart stuttered. Each face was etched with expectation. They were waiting for clarity, for assurance. The stakes were unbearable. Can everyone hear us? Eric's voice came out steadier than Clara felt. Yes, we can hear you, a voice chimed. Clara recognized it as Ahmed, their lead contact. His presence radiated authority, and anxiety prickled at Clara's skin. Thank you for joining us. We're here to address the recent issues surrounding the translation. Abigail began, her tone brisk. Clara felt her anxiety building again. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. It needed to be more than just cold facts. It needed a soul. She cleared her throat softly, catching Eric's eye again. His nod gave her the push she needed. If I may, Clara interrupted. Her voice was quieter than she intended, but as every eye shifted towards her, the air shifted with anticipation. Look, she started slowly, feeling the warmth of their gazes as if they were a gentle blanket. I understand the translation errors are serious, and yes, there are consequences. But beyond the numbers, there are human stories tied to this contract. She glanced around the room, her heart racing. Every decision made in this boardroom affects families. It's not just about profits lost. It's about people who depend on this partnership for their livelihoods. The silence that followed was thick. Clara took a breath, her voice gaining strength. Do we want to be the ones who let fear dictate our choices? Or do we want to be the team that stands together, supporting each other through this? A murmur spread among the partners, the weight of Clara's words seemingly breaking through the atmosphere. She could see Eric leaning forward, encouraged. He was with her. Abigail's expression shifted, just slightly. For the first time, a glimmer of something softer flickered across her features. Maybe it was recognition, or perhaps it was a glimpse of understanding of what Clara was trying to convey. And this is how we move forward, Clara continued, her heart now roaring in her chest. By showing that we're committed to correcting our mistakes not just for numbers, but for the strong bonds we hope to maintain with you all. We can turn this around together. The screen flickered again, revealing the overseas partners' faces sharing undecipherable glances. Clara shared a fleeting moment of hope with Eric. But just as she felt an unexpected swell of relief, Abigail's phone buzzed sharply on the table. She grimaced, glancing at it. I have to take this, she said urgently. Everyone watched her leave the room, the tension as tight as a drawn bowstring. Clara turned back to Eric, her heart still racing. Did I overstep? She asked, biting her lip. Her confidence felt fragile, ready to shatter under scrutiny. No, Eric said, his voice steady. You needed to say that. But what's really going on with Abigail? Just as the question lingered in the air, Clara felt the ground shift beneath her. Something wasn't right. The doorway, once open to opportunity, seemed to loom with further uncertainty. Whatever it is, she whispered, a mix of fear and resolve tightening her chest. We need to find out. Things won't get better until we understand what's truly happening. As they exchanged anxious glances, Clara's pulse quickened again. A silent promise hung between them. Whatever storm loomed ahead, they'd face it together. And she wondered what hidden truths lay just beneath the surface, waiting to be unearthed. Eric leaned back, his brow furrowing in thought. Clara could see it in his eyes. A question was forming, a ripple of curiosity fighting against the current of dread that had settled over them. Why did she look so worried? He finally said, almost to himself before Clara could respond. Heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway, and Abigail returned, her face pale. The bright confidence she had exuded minutes before seemed to have evaporated. I'm sorry, she said, the words tumbling out, almost breathless. We have a major issue. Clara's stomach dropped. What kind of issue? Abigail took a seat again, her fingers trembling as they drummed against the table. It's about the translations. There's been a miscommunication not just about errors, but about intentional changes made during the process. The tension thickened like a fog enveloping the room. Clara exchanged a glance with Eric, who looked as shaken as she felt. Intentional changes? Clara echoed, dread pooling in her chest. Yes, Abigail continued, her voice steadier now, but the weight had shifted. Someone altered key sections to benefit a specific agenda. And it's been exposed. What do we do? Clara's voice barely rose above a whisper. Suddenly, the importance of their conversation felt like a lifeline, and the consequences loomed like dark clouds ready to unleash a storm. We need to act fast, Abigail urged, her eyes darting around the conference room. If we don't manage this quickly, it could ruin everything we've worked for, our relationships, our reputation, even our jobs. Clara felt her breath catch. But who would do something like that? I don't know, Abigail said, frustration creeping into her tone. But it has to have someone on the inside. We can't let our partners think we're complicit. Eric leaned forward, determination flooding his expression. We'll need to review all documentation. We have to trace back every edit and communication. His voice had transformed, the earlier unease replaced by a resolve Clara admired. Exactly, Abigail nodded, infused with a new energy. And I need both of you on this. It has to be transparent and swift. We need to protect our integrity. Clara nodded, but doubts clouded her mind. Could they really take on this enormous task? With their reputation on the line, would the overseas partners dig deeper into the state of affairs? As they began to strategize solutions, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the tip of the iceberg. Shadows lurked beneath the surface, secrets embedded in the actions of individuals previously trusted. Just as the discussion flowed, the flicker of the screen caught Clara's eye. A new message had appeared, an urgent note from Ahmed that read, "We need to talk. This is bigger than you think." Clara's heart raced anew. What could be bigger than a breach of trust? She looked at Eric and Abigail, and they mirrored her apprehension. "Do we have to meet him?" Clara asked, fear creeping back in. What else could he know? "Yes," Abigail replied, determination flashing in her eyes. "We need to understand the full scope of what we're facing." As they prepared to face whatever was next, Clara felt a prickling on the back of her neck, the subtle sense that they were stepping onto a path fraught with peril. But she also felt an insistent voice within her rising up, determined to confront the unknown. Together, they stood on the brink, ready to dive into murky waters where the truth lay buried. Just how deep did this go? And at what cost would they uncover it? The door of uncertainty swung open wider, and Clara knew one thing for certain. They were about to uncover more than just a scandal. They were going to discover what true loyalty and courage meant when everything was on the line. Clara took a deep breath, wishing for a moment that they could rewind time. But there was no going back now. The weight of their situation pulled them forward, as if they were all sailing into a storm. They exchanged worried glances, each realizing that the stakes had never been higher. "We should set a time to meet," Eric suggested, his voice tightly controlled. He began pacing the room as he spoke. "We'll need to gather our thoughts. The last thing we want is to go in there unprepared." Abigail nodded. "How about in an hour? That should give us enough time to review his last messages and draft some questions." Clara glanced at her phone, the seconds ticking away like grains of sand. "What if he's expecting us to already have answers?" she asked, her words rushing out in a flurry of anxious energy. "What if he's the one who made those changes?" "Let us not jump to conclusions," Eric replied, his voice a calming presence amid the growing tension. "We don't know enough yet. Right now, what we need is to gather information, not accusations." The three of them began flipping through documents, their hands moving as if trying to stitch together the frayed pieces of their operation. The room was filled with the sounds of paper rustling and the tapping of keyboards, each noise echoing the mounting pressure. Clara's heart raced as she skimmed through emails and reports. Suddenly, a thought struck her. "What if it's not just Ahmed?" Clara said, a chill running down her spine as she considered the possibility. What if the edits were multiple people, friends or allies of his? Abigail paused mid-scroll. That's a scary thought. She leaned back in her chair, her eyes wide. If that's true, we might not just be looking at a single individual but rather a group working together. Eric stopped pacing and turned to face them both. "We'll deal with that if it comes up. For now, every second counts. Let us gather everything we have and get ready to confront the truth." As they rushed through their tasks, an uneasy silence cloaked the room. Clara couldn't shake a feeling of impending doom, as if the walls themselves were closing in. She could almost hear the clock ticking down, each beat amplifying her growing anxiety. What kind of trap lay ahead? Just as they began to wrap up, Clara's phone buzzed loudly against the table. It was a new message from Ahmed. The content made her heart stop. "We need to talk now. I'm at the cafe down the street." "Right now?" she breathed, glancing at Eric and Abigail. "Does he want us to meet him today?" "Looks like we don't have a choice," Eric replied, urgency lacing his tone. "We need to know what he knows." Clara grabbed her jacket, her pulse quickening as she stood. "What if he knows more than we do? What if he's playing us? Then we'll outplay him," Abigail said, determination igniting in her eyes. She squared her shoulders, finding resilience. We can't allow fear to dictate our actions. We fight fire with fire. As they headed out, the wind whipped around them, and Clara felt the chill of uncertainty seep into her bones. Each step toward the cafe felt like a descent into a swirling abyss, one that could either lead to salvation or deeper deception. With each breath, Clara's resolve hardened. They were getting closer to uncovering the truth, and she silently vowed that she would not back down. There was too much at stake. As they reached the cafe, the door swung open. The smell of coffee wafted towards them, masking the tension that crackled in the air. Suddenly, Clara paused. What if we're walking into a trap? Abigail glanced at her. Then we'll have to be ready for whatever comes next. Clara took a deep breath. It would be a defining moment, one that could change everything. Were they prepared for the truth that might spill out? Would it tear them apart or unite them in unexpected ways? The door was about to swing shut behind them, and with that, they stepped into the unknown, ready to confront whatever lay waiting inside. The cafe was buzzing with patrons, the air thick with the scent of espresso and sweet pastries. Clara could see Ahmed seated at a small table in the corner, his back to the wall, a cup steaming in front of him. He looked tense, a stark contrast to the lively buzz around them. Stick to the plan, Eric whispered as they approached. Clara nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. As they arrived, Ahmed didn't look up immediately. You're late, he said, his voice low and clipped. Clara felt an unsettling chill slide down her spine. We didn't know if we should come at all, Clara replied as they slid into the seats opposite him. She met his gaze, searching for any sign of the man she used to trust. Ahmed finally raised his eyes, locking on Clara's. I don't have time for games. I need to know if you found anything. If you know who's working against me. Abigail leaned forward, clearly agitated. It's not just about you. There are serious implications here. Changes were made to critical documents, and we can't ignore that. A flash of irritation crossed Ahmed's face. You think I had anything to do with that? We don't know what to think, Eric interjected, striving for a composed tone. But we need clarity. Every second counts. Ahmed ran a hand through his hair, the tension evident. Fine. Look, I didn't make those changes. But I do know things, and they aren't good for any of us. Clara leaned in closer. What do you mean? It's a group. Council, really. They wanted me out for a long time. I was just a pawn in their game. His voice faltered as he continued. They could never control me, so they figured they'd use my associates. The revelation hit like a freight train. Associates? Clara whispered. Who? Ahmed took a deep breath, and Clara noticed a flicker of fear. People close to us. You've worked alongside them. They've been feeding information back to the council. Clara's mind was racing. Fear gnawed at her insides. Could someone she trusted really betray them all? How do you know this? She pressed, desperation edging into her voice. Because they've approached me. They want me to join them. Offer me a place among the powerful. And you didn't? Eric asked incredulously. Ahmed shook his head slowly. I'd rather fight. Just as hope began to swell, Clara's phone buzzed again. She glanced down, her stomach twisting as she read the name flashing on the screen. An unknown number. I need to take this, she said, rising from her seat quietly, trying to mask her trepidation. Clara, wait, Abigail began. But her voice fell away as Clara stepped outside, her heart racing. Hello? Clara, you don't know me, but you need to listen. There's more at stake than you realize. Clara's heart raced as the voice continued, revealing secrets she could never have imagined. Each word was a pebble, building a mountain of fear and urgency within her. What do you mean? She asked, her voice trembling. Someone's watching you. Someone inside your circle. Chills crept down her spine. Confusion and fear swirled together. I'll explain everything, but you need to meet me. Tonight at the park. They're coming for you, the voice warned before the line went dead. Clara stood frozen for a moment, the weight of the world on her shoulders. She had never felt so vulnerable, yet so determined. She returned to the cafe, breathless and wide-eyed, just as Eric and Abigail were rising from their seats. "What's going on?" Eric asked, concern etched on his face. Clara felt the truth resurface within her. This was only the beginning. "We have a meeting tonight," she announced, the urgency in her tone vivid. "And it could change everything." The haunted look in Abigail's eyes mirrored her apprehension. "With who?" With resolve, Clara locked eyes with them both. "Someone who knows it all. But are we ready for what they might reveal?" The weight of Clara's words hung heavily in the air. Eric's brows knitted in confusion while Abigail's face paled. "We need to think this through," Eric said, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "We don't know if we can trust this person." "I get it," Clara replied, her chest tightening. "But this might be our only shot. We're in too deep now. If there really is someone inside our circle." Her voice trailed off as she recalled the phone call. What if it was a trap? Ahmed's presence in the cafe felt more opaque, a mere shadow in the backdrop of their rapidly unfolding crisis. Clara glanced back at him, still quiet and tense, as though he were the calm before a storm. "Let us just go back to our original plan," Abigail suggested, the tremor in her voice betraying her calm facade. "We need evidence. We can't walk into a blind alley." Clara shook her head. "But what if this is a chance to confront the truth? To find out who is betraying us?" Eric sighed deeply, weighing the gravity of their choices. "So, we're going to meet this mystery person in the park? At night?" He rubbed the back of his neck, the tension visible. "It sounds risky. Trust me, I'm not thrilled about it either," Clara admitted, drawing a deep breath. "But we owe it to ourselves to at least try. We can't let the fear of the unknown hold us back." Abigail exchanged glances with Eric, her eyes darting back to Ahmed. Finally, she nodded. "All right, let us do it. But we need to stick together. No splitting up." "Agreed," Eric said, determination etching his features. Ahmed didn't look reassured, merely observing the exchange. Clara could feel his skepticism. But they had no choice now as they stepped outside. The fading sunlight painted the sky with streaks of orange and purple, a stark contrast to the unease settling in Clara's heart. Each step toward the park felt weighted, heavy with uncertainty. What secrets had the unknown caller hinted at? Who could they trust? Arriving at the park, Clara felt the night air cool against her skin. The shadows lengthened, creating a maze of darkness among the trees. "This place feels eerie," Abigail whispered, glancing around nervously. "Maybe we should just leave if they don't show soon," Eric suggested, peering into the gloom. Just then, a figure emerged from the shadowy outline of a nearby bench. The world around Clara faded. All that mattered was this moment. "You're Clara?" The voice was low and direct, almost a whisper, yet filled with urgency. "That's me," she replied, her heart racing. The figure stepped closer, revealing a face partially illuminated by the faint light from a nearby street lamp. Clara's breath caught in her throat. It was someone she hadn't expected. "You need to know this," the stranger said, glancing around as if assessing their surroundings. "They're closer than you think." Clara felt dread settle in the pit of her stomach. "Who?" The figure hesitated, then leaned in, urgency thickening the tension around them. "I can't explain everything now, but you must trust me. They're watching, and you need to be careful." A lump formed in Clara's throat as fear surged. She didn't even know this person. "Why should I trust you?" "Because I was once where you are now," the figure said, their voice steady yet filled with a haunting echo of regret. "And I can help you find the truth." The words hung between them like a heavy fog. Clara felt her resolve wavering. What could this person reveal? And was she ready for it? The pounding of her heart drowned out the noise of the park, leaving only the weight of the unknown pressing down on her. Without realizing it, she whispered, "Tell me everything." As the figure began to speak, an unexpected rustle in the bushes interrupted them, igniting a flicker of fear in Clara's eyes. She turned sharply, instinctively drawn into an ominous question. Who else was out there? The night was just beginning. The rustle grew louder, and Clara's heart raced. She squinted into the darkness, her instincts screaming at her to run. "What was that?" she whispered, her breath catching in her throat. The figure standing before her shifted uneasily. "We need to move," they urged, glancing over their shoulder toward the source of the sound. "They can't know we're here together." Clara's gut twisted. She was already standing on shaky ground, and now she felt utterly exposed. "Who's watching?" She blurted out, seeking reassurance she wasn't sure would come. "Anyone," the figure said, their voice lowering as they stepped closer to Clara. "People we thought we could trust. You need to be careful with your words. They have ears everywhere." I don't understand. Is it really that serious?" It was a lame question, but Clara felt like she was drowning, and she needed a lifeline. The shadows around them felt alive with danger. "Clara," the stranger said, pausing for effect. "You have no idea how close they are. They're right beside you, and they're counting on your ignorance to protect them." A chill raced down Clara's spine. She instinctively glanced at Eric and Abigail, their faces strained with worry. "What do you mean by counting on our ignorance?" she pressed, desperation edging her tone. "Simple. You're digging into something that was meant to stay buried. Someone close to you needs you to fail. Think about it." The figure's intensity broke through Clara's fear, a spark of insight igniting her anger and resolve. Who is it?" Eric interjected, stepping closer, tension coiling in every muscle. The figure took a step back, looking between the three of them. "It can't stay long. They'll be here soon." A flicker of panic crossed their face. "Remember what I said, trust no one." Before Clara could voice her protests, the figure melted back into the shadows, leaving only the echo of their warning. "Wait, come back," Clara shouted, but the darkness swallowed their retreat. The sudden absence left an unsettling quiet, where only the rustling leaves filled the void. "Did you hear that?" Abigail breathed, glancing around. "Do you think they're gone? Or watching us?" "It doesn't matter," Eric said, shaking off his unease. "What matters is what they said." He turned to Clara, his brow furrowed. "If someone is betraying us, we need to figure out who it is. Now." Clara's mind raced. Memories flashed before her eyes, moments with Ahmed, conversations that felt off, even whispered secrets in the hallways. "Could be anyone," she muttered. "But it feels so personal. We need to go back." "We can't do this without more information," Eric said firmly. "Maybe we can dig deeper into who has been around, who's gone missing." And a sudden scream pierced the night air, slicing through the tension like glass. Clara's heart leaped into her throat as she turned toward the sound, instincts kicking in. "Over there," Abigail pointed. "Someone's in trouble. Don't get involved." "We can't risk it," Eric warned, grabbing Clara's arm to hold her back. But Clara's feet felt rooted to the ground as she heard another cry, this time more desperate. "I can't just stand here," she yelled, jerking away from Eric's grip. "If someone's in danger, we need to help." "Clara, think," Eric shouted, panic rising. But Clara's heart was set. She took off toward the sound, driven by a blend of fear and courage. The deeper she plunged into the darkness, the more she felt the weight of hidden truths pressing in from all sides. What awaited her in the shadows? The night loomed ominously, every step deeper into the unknown flickering with a terrifying prospect. If she found trouble, would she find answers too? Clara caught her breath as she pushed aside branches, the urgency propelling her forward. What lay ahead might change everything or bring it all crashing down. Would she become part of the darkness or emerge to face the truth? She had to know. Clara plunged into the dense underbrush, her pulse racing. Each step echoed her determination, drowning out the shouting in her ears. More cries pierced the air, shadowy silhouettes flickering in the night. "Stay close." Eric's voice trailed behind her, but she could hardly process it. The need to help surged through her, fiercer than the fear of the unknown. "Over here. Help!" A voice broke through the chaos, raw with desperation and pain. Clara sprinted toward it, her heart pounding with each footfall. She found a figure sprawled on the ground, tangled in the dark. Clara's breath hitched. "Oh my God! Are you okay?" The trembling woman looked up, fear etched into her face. "Please, they're coming." Who? Clara knelt, her hands outstretched, ready to help. The darkness felt alive, heavy with unseen threats. I can't. The woman's eyes darted around them in wild panic. You can't trust anyone. Before Clara could respond, a noise crackled in the bushes nearby. It was unmistakable, and it sent chills racing down her spine. We need to get out of here, Eric shouted as he caught up, glancing around nervously. Help me. The woman clutched Clara's hand. We're in danger. Clara's instincts screamed at her to flee, but something deeper urged her to stay. We can't leave her. Just then, a figure stepped out from the shadows, a tall man with a smooth demeanor, his confidence radiating like an electric charge. Well, what do we have here? Stay away. Eric positioned himself protectively in front of Clara and the woman. Calm down. The man smiled, his eyes glinting like daggers in the moonlight. That's not the way to go about things now, is it? Clara felt the air change, thick with tension. Who are you? She demanded, her voice trembling but firm. Someone who can make all your troubles disappear, he replied, his gaze fixing on Clara with unsettling intensity. If you're feeling overwhelmed, that's understandable. This is bigger than you think. Tell us who you are. Eric insisted, stepping forward. Only if you cooperate, the man chuckled softly. But you seem to be in quite the pickle. Clara glanced at the woman next to her. She could see the fear reflected in her eyes, echoes of doubts that Clara knew all too well. What do you know about me? She took a step closer to the man, the words pouring out before she could think them through. Tell me the truth, he said, his voice almost a whisper. You're already knee-deep in lies. How does that feel, knowing someone wants you to fail? Shut up, Eric shouted, his protective instincts kicking in. But Clara held him back, her eyes locked on the stranger. What will it take for you to listen? The man mused, a knowing smirk etched into his features. To realize that alliances you trust may very well become your downfall. Why should we trust you? Clara shot back, burning anger igniting inside her. Because I'm your only chance, he replied, uncrossing his arms and stepping forward. Time is running out. An inconspicuous enemy lies close, and while you're busy focusing on the external threats, someone is pulling strings you don't even see. The woman let out a sob. I can't. Stop. Clara shouted, her heart racing. We'll listen to you. This was a gamble, yet she could feel the stakes rising. The man's expression shifted, curiosity sparking in his gaze. Then follow me. I'll show you the path to the truth. If you really want it. Let us go, Clara said, rallying her courage. She turned to Eric and the woman, determination settling over her like a warm blanket. We need to face this head-on. We can't keep running. Eric hesitated, but fight lingered behind his worry-soaked eyes. Clara, it's dangerous. We don't know who we're trusting. Exactly. We're done living in fear, she proclaimed, her voice steady. This time we choose to uncover the truth. Amid the dancing shadows and echoes of uncertainty, Clara felt the energy shift. The bitterness of betrayal tasted sharp on her tongue, but she wasn't backing down. Not now. With newfound resolve, they followed the man into the forest, the air thickening with anticipation. As they walked, Clara could almost hear her father's voice, echoing in her head. Words of resilience and honor. She had inherited that fight, and now their journey found purpose. Together, they might shift the tide. But lurking behind them, shadows were growing. And somewhere in that darkness, the pieces of their fate intertwined, loyalties tested, heart-wrenching truths awaiting revelation. Clara turned back one last time, ready to dedicate her life to fighting for the truth and those who couldn't stand up for themselves. They would not go down without a fight. They entered a new world, a fight for clarity buried within a battlefield of trust and uncertainty. And as they delved deeper, Clara knew they would either rise from the ashes like a phoenix or be swallowed whole by the very darkness they sought to unveil. This was just the beginning. If Clara could rise, so could they all. Now, this story needs more eyes. You need to subscribe now for more exclusive tales of courage and transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support the journey ahead. Comment below about your favorite moment in this wild adventure. Your thoughts matter. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Don't wait not even one more second to share.